Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the shop. If this is your first time checking us out, please consider hitting that subscribe button below, hit the notification bell, get notified whenever we put out new content. We've got stuff, old cars, somewhere around here, less old cars, car stuff. That's what we do. Anyways, we are working on the 72 Challenger today, and we've had to shift our content around a little bit due to waiting some executive decisions on some parts replacement and discovering more parts need to be ordered. So we're just going to go ahead and jump ahead or back to working on our rear driver's side quarter patch replacement. Here we go. Now we have here this rear quarter, and I have a patch for it right in this whole area here. The whole quarter is pretty much unobtainable for a reasonable price these days. And really, this area needs a little bit of work. It's actually crunched in. Maybe I'm just noticing that now. What's this side look like? Nope, okay, so body line's a little messed up. But not all that bad. The big part is, down here, looks like somebody hit it with a shotgun. Patch is not so good, so that's going to go away. And that's going to leave me with just a little bit of work to do right up in here. I don't know that I'm going to be able to pound most of these out. I might try some work with the stud gun, but by and large, this is the bad part back here that's going to be going away. In our box here from AMD, it's been sitting around for a while. Is our new patch for the quarter. No rust, no dents, but there's also no cutout here for the side marker light, which presents a little bit of a problem. What my goal is going to be is to measure and cut this out and put it into the new panel back here somewhere where it goes. Now, I was able to pick up this panel off of AMD pretty reasonably priced. Compared to the quarter panel skin, which is about $800, at least the last time I looked at it over the winter. So I'm sure it's gone up since there and is harder to get currently. So we're going to do our best shot to get this patched in for a low dollar versus just throwing brand new metal at the car. So we're going to go ahead and try and graft that corner marker into this new patch, and we're trying to save as much of the original metal on the car as we can. You know, sure, we could just cut off all the panels, put on new everything, but we kind of lose some of that old character of the car and what it originally was. Granted, the roof, that's a pretty big change, but you've seen the roof. You're sitting on what's left of the roof. There's nothing we can do to fix that. But areas where here there's just a smaller area that we can try and fix, we're going to try and do that first. So let's go ahead and grab some tools and start measuring it out. Well, knowing full well I'm going to need more than 2 spring clamps and 3-inch C-clamp, I'm just going to see what happens with what I've got. And then likely make multiple trips up to the garage. You know, I've got a golf cart, I should maybe just use that or something. Anyway, we've got our panel here, wraps around the back, and there is a second inner chunk of metal here too, so we've got something to use as a reference point. I gotta see some trim that goes on here. I don't know if Darren's keeping that or not, but our piece should go up to this style line, which is kind of nice because it gives us a good good reference point of where we're going to be taking metal off from. And once we get close, I do have Clecos that I can use. I want to use those sparingly. Maybe just here in the fender well, for example. And you can't see it from where you are, but there's a good 2 inches between this panel and the fender itself that's on there now. So I gotta see which is accurate. I'm guessing this is pretty good, and once I get the old metal off of here, it's gonna fit on quite a bit better. But we've got this here. What I'm probably gonna end up doing is taking a Sharpie marker and then cutting a little below where I need to be. It's always easier to take more metal off than put more back on. So that's gonna allow me to get here in this fender well, on that lip. I've got all this metal in here to work around. This, of course, is stubbed out a little bit, about 1/8 of an inch. So, yeah, I'm in your way, I'm sorry. You can see this actually tucks up under this lip on the rear end, so gonna be fitting there. You can see here, there's a couple of spots here where that rear lower valance ties into. So got to make sure and keep those in line. Yeah, so let me get a Sharpie. And at least if I take this outer skin off, Mr. Microphone, if I take this skin off and keep the style line here, I can use that as a guide for marking where this cutout needs to go on this panel. So this is an actual Mopar part. It's not a knockoff part from who knows where. So it is a genuine part. So hopefully the fitment will be pretty good. I just need to get into doing it. So let me find me a Sharpie and we'll start making bad decisions. Alrighty, ran up to the garage, grabbed a medium, fine print, and I've got a big one over there, but hopefully the fine print will be good for us. So like I said, I'm just gonna set this here about where it goes, make my mark, and then I'm gonna go inside of it about 1/4 of an inch just to make sure I've got room and I don't cut it too short, because that would be bad. And this Sharpie sucks. So medium one it is. A little bit overhang here, all this comes off. Remember I said this tucks in under here, so not quite yet it doesn't, but I think once everything, once the majority of this metal is out of the way, it's gonna make it a lot easier to get this panel fit in where it should be. Like I said, I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this 1/4, 3/8 lower, just to make sure I'm not leaving myself short. Doesn't have to be precise, because like I said, we're going to come back for a final cut later on once we're in the ballpark for fitment. All right, so I'm going to attack this line first and work down to about here where I know I've got a second piece of metal behind here, and figure out how I'm going to split those apart, and the same for over here, because I've got this insert for the rear lights, and then down into here. So if I can get working here and start prying my way, kind of peel that onion back, that's what I'm going for. So I'm going to grab my grinder, throw in my other Elgin earbud, and get to it. Alrighty, well, I've been working away slowly but steadily on this, and not in a hurry, don't need to go hacking away at parts. And I'm slowly peeling this back. I've got some spot welds back here I've drilled out, wedged this part away. And this looks like it was seam sealed in here versus welded. Yep, that's a bunch of seam sealer. And take that out of there right now so I know to fix it later. Garbage. Nope. Anyways, I've got spot welds to drill out inside the wheel well here, the slip, and then some down here in the bottom. So I need to go up to the house and grab my jack, take off this rear tire so I can get back here, and then this piece should come off. But for now, it is late in the evening for me, so we're gonna come back tomorrow with jack and some more tools and get the rest of this panel off. Alrighty, we're back. Not the next day, but the day after. I did a little bit of work last night off camera. I wanted to get at least part of this old panel off so we could start figuring out where the new one's gonna sit and where that cutout is gonna go for the corner light, corner markers. Now, normally it wouldn't be a big deal. I could just drill in, cut out new holes where this corner marker goes, but here's the problem. This is actually depressed and stamped in about 1/16 of an inch, and you know, most people probably wouldn't notice it once you get the late assembly on there and whatnot. But me being me, I'm gonna try and get it as close to as it was as possible. So I'm gonna clean this area out and cut right around here. I'm gonna give it probably 3/8 of an inch around so I can get in maybe a 1/2 inch. What I'm gonna do now is mark where these holes are, but also take note that because of how this panel is built and stamped and pressed and whatever, it's actually shifted this way just a hair and up just a hair. So everything needs to kind of go up and over just a little bit to account for that panel fitment. But that's not going to be too hard to do. I can just move everything up and over a little bit. So I'm going to make a few little sample marks just so I know where it's going to go. And then I'll end up cutting this part out and tracing it in where it should go. So that's what I'm going to do now. So here we've got, just going to put a little mark right here where it's currently seated. That's going to be a challenge, but hey, here we go. If I take this off, this leaves me with where it should go. So when I get the other piece cut out, I can just shift it up and over a hair, and that's where I can make my mark to cut out this panel. Here's a little better view on the other quarter that is decent. However, I think I spy some filler back here. Yep. So we'll see what lays back here as well as we get moving. I don't know, that doesn't look, you can't see, but it doesn't look too beat up in there, so maybe it's just a little blemish we'll have to deal with. But anyways, you can see there's just a little bit of a dimple in here, and it's not much, but it's enough that I want to fix and get right. All right, so when we left off, the dilemma I had was the old panel here had a insert here and actually a little bit of a detent for the corner marker light, and the new panel here does not have that. Now I've gone ahead and loosely traced where that should be moved over to, and I'm pretty much going to cut this out, graft it onto this new panel, and hope it doesn't look like poo. I did go ahead and talk to Darren about it, and we already have this part, so let's try and make it work, graft it over, and if it looks, you know, bad, we can still go and buy a full rear quarter, but those are out of stock. They're not terribly cheap, and that would also mean I would have to undo a lot of the work that I did getting the new trunk parts fitted in over the winter. So this whole filler panel would have to come out, this all has to come out, and it just seems like it's going to be a giant mess. So my goal is to try and graft the old part onto the new panel, fill it back in here, and hope it looks acceptable. So that is the plan. Like I said, we already have it kind of traced out. So that is our plan. Like I said, we've already traced out where the part should go. So I'm going to fire up the grinder and cut out the old piece, get it prepped, get it cleaned up best I can, and work on figuring out how to cut it into the new panel. So that's where we're at for that. All right, so this is the area that I'm gonna try and be cutting out and grafting onto the new panel. So I'm gonna mark it off with some tape, draw some Sharpie marks on it, and just get it cutting. Alrighty, well, on our new panel here, I've gone ahead, traced out where this should go, measured it a number of times between this cutout, the quarter on the still on the vehicle, and lined it up, measured it, made sure we are level on here, based off this hole, not this cut line, but based off this hole, made sure we are evenly spaced from here to here. That's how it was on here. So then hopefully this should all be straight and level when it's all cut out. Got this taped off, a little booger there, but you know, we're gonna go ahead and cut this out, try and go right on the line. So we have just right inside the line here, just so we have a nice tight fit to weld to. So let's just get to it. Well, heck, that's not too bad. That fits in there pretty well. I'm gonna kind of chamfer off these corners here a little bit so I don't have a tight 90 going into here. Otherwise, this looks really good. I'm pleasantly surprised with how well it turned out. So let me get these corners knocked off. We'll clean up this panel on the inside, get rid of the little crud from grinding, and we'll get her mounted up and ready to get tacked in place. Well, I'm gonna say it, this does not look half bad. Everything's just held in place here with magnets for the moment, but you can see we've got our other old roof I stepped on. Our patch here for the marker light, more steel. And again, that's held into with magnets. I'll go ahead and get everything, make sure we get this contour correct when we tack it in. But all in all, Yahtzee. All in all, it looks pretty good with this new patch in place. I've got to go ahead and get the rest of this panel prepped before we weld it on, and so hopefully my SCT sander is going to be here very soon, and we'll be able to prep or at least get this rest of the quarter panel cleaned up and all the brown rusty gunky stuff off of it and whatever else is hiding underneath. We've got a few, you know, dimples here we'll have to deal with. And this little contour here looks like it got squished just a little bit. Right in the one spot you can see it kind of right here. So I've got to see how I'm going to bring that out. Maybe just a few light pulls with the slide hammer. We'll fix that. Anyways, for right now we're going to go ahead and get this thing burned in. Alrighty, well, I did a bad thing. I started welding and forgot to include you, but luckily I just got the patch tacked in here. Let's take a look. So here's the back side of it, and looking pretty good. Where's our front side here? There we go. So we see it got, it's in here pretty dang well. just to where it should be. And I'm gonna go ahead, bring you along. I'm gonna weld up the rest of this, stitch it around, and then I'll go ahead and fit it up to the car. There is one little problem though that I will discuss in just a minute here. Alrighty, well, it wouldn't be a little fun if something didn't catch on fire. That's the way it goes. Anyway, you saw me run a stitch around the patch. Just double check, yep, I did put it in the right way. That would have sucked to put it in backwards, so the indent was an outdent. Anyways, got it welded in here. And now what I'm gonna do, let it cool off here for a moment, and then go ahead and just grind it off. Their front, grind it smooth, and then work on, actually both sides, front and back, need to get ground down because you will see it from inside the trunk. For anybody who is worried about details like that, just grind her down, get her smoothed out. And you saw me run my flashlight on my phone underneath, because what I was doing is looking for any pinholes of light that are showing through from a missed spot on the welding. And let me go ahead and do this quick. Hold it up to my light again. Oop. Ground wire. There we go. Go ahead and hold it up to my light. And I shouldn't see any light protruding through the welds. If it is, I missed a spot. And you saw I did have a couple little pinholes that I tacked up, so. I'll do that same thing again once we are done grinding down those welds, and repeat the process until I don't see any more light coming through. And apparently a bird got trapped in the shop because there's bird crap on the 52. That's, I guess, why we cover our convertibles. Anyways, I'm gonna get this ground down. I'm not gonna show you that process because it's another boring time lapse, and if you've seen one grinding video, you've seen them all. So I'll come back when this is cleaned up and ready to put back on the vehicle. Okay, we've got this patch welded in here, old stuff and new stuff, and it's not too bad. I'm gonna take it up to the garage and put some filler in here, because you can see this from inside the trunk. Probably more skim coat just to fill in some of these little divots here from welding, but overall not too bad. Front side same as well. It'll get a little skim once it's all said and done, but once it's on the car, I'll do a little bit of final work to it as well, just so I've got a little better handle on the part. I'm not having to hold it with one hand and whatever else. So. But that brings me to another part, is that we're, again, at a stopping point. A, because it's 94 degrees down here and humid in the shop. And we're gonna buy some more new metal. This part here, looking at it, it is pitted and rusty down here. So for the low cost to replace this, I'm just going to do that. So we're putting good steel on good steel. The only problem is that this eats into the trunk a few inches, and I just finished off the trunk, so I may end up just cutting it and doing a little zig in here so it has still some structure versus just a flat cut. But after I throw some of the rust encapsulator stuff on there, I kind of looked at it and went, no, we're going to replace that, because even though it's on the inside of the car, when you're looking outside here, if you were crawling around underneath it, you would definitely see this crappy panel. And I guess I wouldn't want that on my car, so I'm not going to put that on Darren's car. I guess my rule is, if it's not good enough for me, it's not good enough for somebody else. So we're playing the waiting game. Both the drip rails from our roof project were ordered at the same time roughly as this panel here. So we'll see whichever one gets here first is gonna be the next video in our series. So until then, thanks for watching, have a great day, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.